Pushback today against the Trump administration's planned retribution at the nation's top law enforcement agency is gathering some steam this afternoon. Breaking over the last several hours, 2 lawsuits against the Trump Justice Department, one a class action lawsuit seeking to block DOJ leadership from creating lists of agents who worked on the January 6 investigation and the Trump classified documents case, lists that could then be used for a mass purge of the agency. The plaintiffs say this, quote, upon returning to the presidency, Mr. Trump has ordered the DOJ to conduct a review and purge of FBI personnel involved in these investigations and prosecutions. This directive is unlawful and retaliatory. Plaintiffs assert that the very act of compiling lists of persons who worked on matters that upset Donald Trump is retaliatory in nature, intended to intimidate FBI agents and other personnel and to discourage them from reporting any further malfeasance by Donald Trump and his agents. The plaintiffs warn that any compiled list could then become a tool for Trump and his allies. More from the lawsuit, quote, plaintiffs assert that the purpose for this list is to identify agents to be terminated or to suffer other adverse employment action. Plaintiffs reasonably fear that all or parts of this list might be published by allies of President Trump, thus placing themselves and their families in immediate danger of retribution by the now pardoned and at-large January 6 convicted felons. Attached to their suit is the questionnaire that was sent out to Bureau staffers, consisting largely of yes or no questions regarding their involvement in the January 6 cases, with one question asking for specifics on what each agent did in the largest investigation in DOJ history, launched in response to what the director of the FBI at the time called an act of domestic terrorism. Bureau staffers getting support from a number of groups representing current and former FBI agents. A second lawsuit against the Justice Department from the FBI Agents Association is asking a federal judge to protect agents from retaliation and, quote, vigilante action by those they were investigating, pointing to an incredibly tense threat environment for the agents in the wake of Trump's mass pardons of the January 6 defendants. They say this, quote, as of the date of this affidavit, multiple hashtags are trending on X that allow January 6 convicts turned pardons to link to each other in posts promoting violence and insurrection against law enforcement agents. They also cite the leader of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, singling out an FBI agent for retaliation. Their suit includes this dire warning, quote, in addition to being unlawful, a mass unlawful firing of 6,000 FBI employees would be catastrophic to national security. FBI agents trying to draw a line in the sand against a possible purge that would put them in danger is where we start today. Here for his first ever television interview, Michael Clark. He's president of the Society of Former Special Agents of the FBI, one of the groups pleading with Congress to take action. Also back with us, former assistant director for counterintelligence at the FBI, MSNBC senior national security analyst Frank Figliuzzi. And with me at the table, once again, former top official at the Department of Justice, MSNBC legal analyst Andrew Weissman. I appreciate all you being here. I imagine this isn't the most comfortable time to be speaking out, but it is perhaps the most important time. So let me start with that. Thanks. Michael Clark, just tell me what's happening right now inside the FBI.
Well, it's I'm sure there's a lot of agents who are fearful of their jobs. Being an FBI agent can be a dangerous job, and it's dangerous times. And now the agents are focused not only on doing their work, but they're also concerned about their families, and and just whether their names and addresses will be exposed by this list.
Tell me what is available as a recourse. What can Congress do to protect the Bureau?
Well, hopefully, an injunction. I know the Agents Association and we're supporting that, has filed a suit so that these names won't be released. There's another suit as well out there filed by a number of agents for looking for the same type of relief. I'm not sure what Congress can do. I'll leave that to to some of the congressional delegates or it's individuals that that you'll have on at some point, I'm sure. But there's tremendous concern by the agents. I can assure you of that.
Let me show you something that former Deputy Director of the Bureau, Andrew McCabe, said over on CNN about just the creation of these lists.
Thousands of agents who did nothing other than respond to the orders of their supervisors and of people at headquarters who likely sent them leads to the field offices where they work to conduct some investigative activity and maybe even execute a lawful search warrant or arrest warrant signed by a federal judge. So the idea that these people are essentially being virtually rounded up now, being demanded to fill out what I'm told is a 12-question survey, which is mostly yes or no answers, to identify themselves as people who may be targeted for some sort of retribution or punishment. It's absolutely disgraceful. These are people who are civil servants. They enjoy the protections of the civil service program. The FBI has an extensive process of if there are allegations of misconduct against specific employees, those things are investigated. They are given due process. And ultimately, the Office of Professional Responsibility administers an adjudication. Nowhere in my entire 21-year history in the FBI did I ever see anything like this, where employees are literally being rounded up for political reasons for cases they did their lawful and expected work on. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, to Andy McCabe's point about how FBI agents end up working on cases, the opposite of what they did, the kinds of answers that would get them in trouble with the Trump team, would have been unlawful. Can you just explain how sort of the chain of command works inside the Bureau once the director declares an event, a crime that takes place on TV, an act of domestic terrorism?
Well, almost in any case where the agents are, get involved in an investigation, there's a predicate offense. A case is opened in conjunction with the United States Attorney's Office. And then the agents will use all the different tools at their behest to follow up.
There is breaking news on the story we've been covering for the last few days around here. Fears inside the FBI workforce of a massive purge. A source telling NBC News that the FBI has turned over to the Justice Department a list of thousands of agents involved in the January 6th investigation. The list that they turned over does not have the names listed on it, but it does have the employee ID numbers there, along with other details like the individual's title, the individual's current office assignment, the title at the time for the individual that the January 6th investigation took place, the role in the investigation, and the last day of their activity in the investigation. Dahlia, Michael, and Andrew are here. Andrew?
Well, one, not having the names at least is a small step so that it's harder to just take this and make it public so that the Proud Boys and others can target these people. It has that going for it. Once you have the employee numbers, though, it's just not that hard. It's not that hard for anyone to just match it up and create a new list with the names on it. So that can be done. I suspect this may have been done in part because it's just not hard for the Department of Justice, the lawyers across the street, to get access to the FBI database and just pull the information themselves. In other words, they're going to have it, so why allow them to fire you because you didn't comply with the order? And so they took some step. And as we were saying during the break, to me, I'm not old enough for it, although today I'm feeling old enough for it. It feels like Joe McCarthy. This is naming names and for no good reason. That was First Amendment activity. This is not just, protected activity. This is activity that we want agents to be doing. And the idea that they're on a list for retribution when you have a convicted felon in the White House and you have now the complicity of the leadership of the Department of Justice, it is such a state in terms of where we are as a country.
Michael Steele.
So Andrew laid it out exactly right. And Andrew made a point 2 segments ago when he was talking about this idea of removing the people and replacing them. Now, you know why. Now you know why he wanted to replace it, because to Andrew's very excellent point, there's no way to stop them. So who do you go to for relief? How do you get the system to stand guard against actions like this? A convicted felon is orchestrating the retribution against those who came after his criminal activity. I'm trying to figure out what the crime was here. That's like saying a crime happens, police and others investigate it, and then everybody goes after the investigators for investigating the crime and call them the criminals and want to go after them. So what are we saying to the rest of the country now? This is the new order of things. Criming is good for me, but not for thee. And so if you're not in my crime family, then guess what? Good luck. But if you are, you're good.
So, folks, those agents are on their way out and they are getting revenge on Trump. They're not just leaving, they're dropping a bomb, exposing his fascist actions, and taking him to court to protect themselves. Because what we've seen, guys, is, look, unfortunate as it is, we did not get nearly enough justice, but civil judgments against Trump and judgments against his government, there have been some successes there. We already know that Trump, his company, was found guilty of criminal activities. Not Trump himself, yes, with regard to the hush money payment, but before that, Trump's company. So Donald Trump himself is a convicted felon, but the Donald Trump organization, like insofar as in the Mitt Romney sense, corporations are people, the Trump organization is a criminal entity, right? And in addition, we remember the Gene Carroll, not once but twice, taking him down and winning a judgment in front of a jury, finding Trump liable for just sickening, disgusting behavior towards her in that that changing room. So the agents here are making a big move. FBI agents are dropping a bomb on the way out. The ones that remain, they're not going to be loyal to Trump. Some of them will be, but a lot of them, guys, here's the thing. Most agents aren't Trump loyalists or Trump resistors. Most aren't. You can like that or hate that. Most of them don't give a damn. They come, they do their job, they go home. That's what you should want from an officer, right? But one thing that's surefire going to piss them off is that their job is now being seen as a liability. That not only do you have to worry about criminals being mad at you for putting them in jail, you now have to be worried about any work you did in the prior administration, because if it even smells like it was anti-Trump or anti-Republican, you're going to face, severe consequences, and no one's going to support that.